It's time to chill out and get ready for a mediocre Q&A live stream. If you're old enough, grab yourself your favorite adult beverage, and if you're not, stick with apple juice. Put your feet up and relax. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. And now let's cue up the intro music. Yo, how you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing well. We got a couple things I want to cover as usual and a couple things I want to rant about as usual. I got to give a shout out to my buddy Bill. I got a surprise package in the mail today. And Bill, Curious HVAC guy. If you guys haven't already, definitely go sub to his channel. So a couple weeks ago, he had told me he was sending me a package. I had no idea what it was, so I was like, all right, whatever. And then I got this package in the mail today, and we thought it was like Christmas presents or something that we had ordered, you know, because everybody's ordering stuff these days. And it's these tumbler cups, right? Like these little Yeti tumbler cups. And the bastard put my name on there with a pineapple on there. And he made one for my wife, too. It's got this bright pink cup that says Jill on it with a pineapple on it, too. So I didn't choose the lifestyle. The lifestyle chose me, and I'm just going to embrace it. So got to rock the pineapple cup. Oh, man. That was too funny, though. I had a good laugh when I opened that box. All right. So, yeah, the news. The news today is that here in Southern California, they just locked us down again. Actually, in California, pretty much. So they went into like a modified lockdown when it comes to the whole shutdown stuff. All the restaurants, let's see, bars have to close completely. Hair salons have to close completely. Restaurants cannot serve food in the parking lot. Like they have to serve to go only. You cannot eat it on the restaurant's property. So for the longest time, our restaurants they were briefly open for a short period of time, but then they had to close back down and they were just doing patios and different things like that. So anyways, it's a giant cluster right now. We don't know what's going to happen as far as work and all that stuff. We don't know if it's going to be dead or if it's going to be, keep going. I have a feeling, like my guys were asking me today, what's going to happen. And I know that in my area, when we had the first lockdown, all the restaurants just stopped everything. They were only fixing emergency repairs. And I had heard through the grapevine that they made a mistake, and they realized they made a mistake when they did that. So I'm hoping that they continue to repair things, fix things. It just not going to be as busy. It sucks for the restaurants, but hopefully we can stay moving and chugging. It's already, this is our slow time of year as it is, because here in Southern California, it's almost officially wintertime, and I think the high today was 70 degrees and the low tonight's like 56. So, we don't know what cold is here in Southern California, unless you go to the deserts or the mountain regions and stuff. So it's definitely going to be interesting, so to say the least. But today I really did nothing. I let my guys keep working, and I drove and took parts to them and stuff, and just kind of came home and worked in the office a little bit. So nothing too crazy. So as usual, got a couple things I want to talk about. Something I wanted to address right now, and this is something that came up in the comments, and I think it's a really good topic to address for everybody that's in here and for the new people that are coming into the trade and all that good stuff, is technical support. Okay, technical support is a great resource to lean on when you need help. It's amazing. Almost every manufacturer has their own individual technical support department, and they do a good job. But technical support, you need to understand something. You can't call them and expect them to do your job for you, okay? Especially when it's the new guys, okay? Don't call technical support and ask them what superheat was. I made that mistake, to be honest with you. Early in my career, I'm pretty sure it was Hoshizaki technical support, and I'm pretty sure I can picture the ice machine I was working on, and I was concerned about an expansion valve problem. No, maybe it wasn't Hoshizaki. I can't remember. It was some technical support department, and I remember the tech advisor on the other end of the line asked me what the system superheat was, and I proceeded with, what is superheat? And he must have been having a bad day, okay, and I'll give him that much, because the next thing that I heard was the phone clicked. He hung up on me, and I was like embarrassed because I realized I should have known what superheat was. By then, I was 3-4 years into my career. I didn't know what superheat was, and it was just like, what's that? So don't be like me, okay? But I promise you something, when he hung up on me, I was embarrassed, and I still had to call them the next day, but I did a bunch of research when I got home, figured out what superheat was, how to measure it, all that good stuff, okay? So it is possible to get a couple years into your career without understanding what superheat was. It's just definitely something you don't want to do like me, okay? But still, technical support, you don't want to call them and have them ask you questions that you don't know the answers to, okay? So, before I call technical support, the best advice I can give you guys is get a notepad. I know people aren't using notepads these days, but you need a paper and a pen, okay? You can do this on your phone, but it's a pain in the butt, okay? Paper and a pen. And you write down all your vitals. You write down funny things that are happening within the system. You're working on an ice machine. It keeps shutting off after this. You need to, that's why when I'm working on ice machines, I've said this many times, and everything, okay, I like to watch cycles naturally happen when it comes to ice machines, refrigerators, and all that stuff. It's great that you walk up to an ice machine and it has a circuit board and it tells you that, something funky's going on, it's got a bad sensor or whatever, but I still like to watch a cycle, okay? Watch the entire cycle, watch what happens, write it down. So that way, when it does come time to call technical support, you have everything in front of you. Now, understand something. All these manufacturers with their technical support departments, they're busy, okay? And they put factory approved service companies ahead of non-factory approved service companies. That's just the way that it works. It frustrates me too, but it happens, okay? So if you're a factory approved preferred vendor, most of the time they put you, they recognize your phone number, they put you on a queue ahead of everybody else, and they'll answer your call first. So sometimes, I'm not kidding with you, for those of you guys that don't know, you could be on hold with technical support for 45 minutes to an hour, maybe more, okay? So with that being said, there's nothing worse than being on hold that long. Then the tech support guy answers, and then he asks you a question and you don't have the answer to it. And then you have to get off the phone, go find the answer, and call back and get in line again, okay? So trust me from experience, you want to have all the information written down. Even if you think it's just not even relevant, write it down. These notepads are the best thing in the world, okay? Write everything you can on there. And then that way, when they finally do call you, you have it, okay? And I've literally been driving home before. I finally gave up on technical support and start driving home, tell the customer I'll be back tomorrow, and then they call me, and guess what? Had the notepad sitting in my van right next to me. So I had a conversation with tech support over the phone. We were able to diagnose it with all the information that I had on the notepad. So trust me. But that doesn't just apply to ice machines, okay? That applies to everybody. Jonathan Perez, thank you so very much for that super chat. I really, really appreciate it. All the support you guys give is awesome, okay? Thank you guys so very much. All right. Okay, so let me go ahead and mark that one off real quick, okay? So that way, because I sometimes forget what I've covered, and I'll get to some other questions in here too. So I'm going to go back and forth between the chat and what we have on here, okay? So I see a question of here. Let me see. I saw one in here. So what did I do before thermal imaging to judge how full the receiver is? Okay, so that's actually something that I want to cover on my list, and so we're going to segue into that and talk about a few different things, okay? Because I'm going to consolidate a few questions that I had. So first off, when I'm checking the liquid level on a receiver, typically it applies when I have a head pressure control valve in my system, okay? A head pressure control valve requires extra refrigerant when it's being used, okay? Simplest way to say it. The head pressure control valve typically will be used more so in the winter than in the summer, but it does get used occasionally in the summer depending on the system, okay? So the head pressure control valve is there to maintain a set head pressure which maintains a set pressure differential across your expansion valve, okay? This is a very common, confusing thing that a lot of people have questions about. So for a head pressure control valve to work in a refrigeration system, now this is a refrigeration system with a receiver and an expansion valve, you're going to need extra refrigerant in the system when the head pressure control valve opens and lets refrigerant flow through the bypass, okay? Now, with that being said, in the past, we have called that refrigerant charge the winter charge, okay? But that leads to some confusion. We are not typically, okay, we are not going to the refrigeration system and adding more gas in the winter and then removing it for the summer, okay? Now, there's sometimes that might happen, but it's very slim, and it's typically because the system wasn't designed correctly, okay? But we're not going to go into that right now. So just to be clear, the winter charge is not something that you add in the winter and remove in the summer, okay? We just call it the winter charge because the head pressure control valve is typically going to operate in the winter time. So therefore, the extra refrigerant needed theoretically is only used in the winter time. So we call it the winter charge, okay? But it does not mean that we're moving it and adding it throughout the season, okay? It's a one-stop shop. If you charge the system correctly on the day of installation, theoretically, if there's no refrigerant leaks, you should never have to add or remove refrigerant from the system if it was charged correctly and you don't have any bad components or anything, okay? So normal operation, you shouldn't be adding extra refrigerant. Okay, with that being said, using a thermal imaging camera, which I've done a few times in my video, is a shortcut method to check the refrigerant level in the receiver. Now, with that being said, the proper way to charge a system with a head pressure control valve is to weigh in the right amount of refrigerant, okay? But sometimes that can be difficult actually weighing it in, especially when you're out in the field, or in the case of my recent video, I think it was in my recent video or one of my recent videos, I went up to a system. Well, actually, I haven't made that video yet, but I have a whole nother video explaining some things, but stay tuned. I lost my train of thought there. But anyways, so a thermal imaging camera, I will use that to check the liquid level in the receiver. Now, a thermal imaging camera is a cool toy. I don't have to use it. I certainly can check the liquid level in the receiver without a thermal imaging camera. But again, my preferred method is to weigh in the factory charge. Now, if you have a built-up system or a custom refrigeration system, there may not be a factory charge, okay? So you'll have to do some calculations. Now, if you have lost my train of thought again too. I'm having brain farts right now. If you have a system that you designed and it has a tube and fin condenser, then you can use Sporlan's 90-30-1 method. Just Google search Sporlan 90-30-1 and you'll find the way to calculate the flooded charge or the winter charge of a system, okay? So, but again, I got to reiterate this so many times because I get so many questions. You do not remove the refrigerant in the summer and add it in the winter, okay? We just call it the winter charge because typically the valve is only going to be used in the winter, okay? But there's some situations if your ambient temperature drops that your head pressure control valve will bypass and flood the condenser in the summer too, okay? Especially when you're dealing with ice machines or things that have hot gas defrost, okay? You can see that. So hopefully that answers your, oh, but I never answered the question. What would I use before I used a thermal imaging camera, okay? So what I do, my shortcut method is to pump the refrigerant system down. So front seat the King valve on the receiver, let all the refrigerant back up in the receiver and in the condenser, And then what I do when I can't figure out the factory charge, when I can't use the Sporlan 90-30-1 method, what I do is I add the maximum amount of refrigerant to that system. Okay, the maximum amount of refrigerant when it's pumped down is 3/4 of the receiver pumped down. Okay, 80%, whichever one you want to say. Okay, close enough between the two. That's the maximum amount of refrigerant because you have to leave room for expansion so that way your receiver doesn't blow up when it's really, really hot in the summertime or something like that. Okay. So what I will do is I will pump the system down and then I will take a heat producing device. Now, I'm not going to tell you guys what heat producing device I use, and I get questions about that all the time. The reason why I'm not going to tell you is because I don't want to get sued for someone blowing their head off, okay? So I'm going to use a heat producing device, and I'm going to give you a caveat that does not exceed the soft plug temperature on the side of the receiver or anything that could explode, okay? So whatever you need to use your brain and figure that one out. Use a heat producing device that can just warm up the side of the receiver, okay? Couple passes up and down. And then what you're going to do is take the heat producing device off, and you're going to start from the bottom of the receiver and run your fingers up the receiver, okay? And then what you will do is you'll feel a temperature difference, a huge temperature difference, at the point in which the vapor refrigerant that's in that accumulator and the liquid refrigerant meet, okay? That is your liquid level in the system. Now, again, you always want to lean on the manufacturer to find out what they recommend for the refrigerant charge, but if you can't, that's my shortcut method. Now, I started using a thermal imaging camera just because it's fun and I had the ability to buy one, so I did, okay? But I certainly, for most of my career, just used my fingers to find the liquid level in the system. Very, very important, and I'll pay attention to the chat in a minute, is to mark the liquid level when you are done, okay? So no matter where you put it, let's say you weigh in the factory charge, okay? And it's only half the receiver, but that's what the factory is calculated to be the right amount of flooded charge. Mark it with a paint marker, not a Sharpie, okay? With a yellow paint marker or something that stands out so everybody can see it and it stays there for the life of the receiver, okay? So that way the next time someone comes in behind you and they have to fix a refrigerant leak, they can charge us to that level and know that they're going to be good, okay? That's the easiest way, so then nobody has to do the calculation after that. Easy peasy. Okay, so let me look at the chat here and see what I'm missing. What do we got? Are they reclosing schools? The virus is getting worse. Well, they never opened schools here in California. But for a brief amount of time, I think they opened them in some areas. But my kids never went back to school. My kids have been out of school since last year, or earlier this year, April, whatever, whenever it was we went on the original lockdown. So my kids have been online ever since. In some areas, they let some people go back to like PE and things like that. Like even my daughter in her school, she's been going and meeting with the tennis club or whatever, she does tennis for PE, or an extracurricular activity, I guess. And she's been going and doing that, but I heard that they might be shutting that down again too. So yeah, the numbers are definitely going crazy here. Unfortunately, here in California, we have such a dense population that we have a huge amount in a small area. So, all right, let me see. When I was working in medical refrigeration, how cold did the boxes get? I didn't really work on any crazy ultra lows. I might have worked on one once or twice. So the lowest I saw, the stuff that I worked on was like -10, -20. Nothing too much colder than that. I had an opportunity to work on an ultra low Cascade unit one time, and I honestly turned it down because I just felt like I was in way over my head. So that was a long time ago, though. Let me see what else we got in here. Watched a few videos the other day with your father, an HVAC mechanic for 30 years. He learned a few things from me. Well, you know what? Thank you very much. That's cool. I'm glad that I can share the little bit of knowledge that I have, okay? I certainly don't know everything, and I just try to share what I have learned via my mistakes, okay? Because I've made lots of mistakes over my career, and I just try to share that information so that way, hopefully, you guys won't make the same mistakes as I did. So I think that's the whole point of my YouTube channel, is just to share my mistakes. So, all right, let me see what else we got in the chat here. How cold does the COVID-19 vaccine need to be for storage? Molly Penderson, each one of my understanding is different vaccines need to be stored at different levels or different temperatures. So really depends. I'm not an expert in that. Don't know. All right. So questions on my list of things to talk about. So I wanted to cover this really quick. Ice machine manufacturers. I want to reiterate this because in one of my recent videos, I kind of hinted on this and I want to cover it again. Okay, ice machine manufacturers are there to sell ice machines, okay? I have a personal preference in the ice machines that I like to work on. It's simply because I'm super comfortable and confident working on those particular brands. The two particular brands that I'm most confident with are Hoshizaki and Manitowoc ice machines. Those are the most common ones here, okay? Nothing against Scotsman, Isomatic, Follett, Vote, any of those, okay? It's just that I work on Hoshizaki and Manitowoc's all the time. In the past, I used to work on Vote ice machines all the time. I had 3 or 4 of them, and we were super busy on them between a couple different restaurant chains, okay? So I was really comfortable working on those. It's been so many years, I'm rusty, okay? Doesn't mean that the Vote ice machines are bad. They're simply way overkill for restaurants, but they're very fun to work on. But if you ever have to change a compressor on a Vote ice machine, at least the old ones, you were changing an 06D Carlisle compressor. I mean, that's a big-ass compressor, you know? So you're using lifts and all kinds of stuff to get that compressor in there. Refrigerant charges on some of those, I think they were the HE models, if I remember right, on the Vote ice machines. I think the refrigerant charge was 60 pounds of refrigerant. I mean, they were huge receivers. Those things were giant, man. They made tube ice. They're really, really interesting to work on. I'm pretty sure the newer ones have scroll compressors in them, but that's a whole nother thing. Going off on a tangent as usual. But ice machines, it's all about what you're comfortable working on, okay? But one thing I'm going to tell you is that each one of those ice machine manufacturers is out there to sell ice machines. In order to sell ice machines, they market them. In order to market them, okay, the marketing people come up with all these cool things that they want to make these ice machines sell. We have Agion built into the plastic. We have really short cleaning time. We have whatever, warranties, whatever, okay? So they're always pushing stuff. And one of the things that almost every manufacturer out there pushes is how easy it is to maintain their ice machines and how inexpensive they are to maintain, okay? They're lying. Sorry, but they're lying, okay? I can't tell you one ice machine manufacturer out there that in the service manual truly tells you how long it takes to properly tear down and clean one of their machines. They all give you like a really short, condensed version of cleaning, and they typically don't tell you how much time, okay? I'm going to make it flat and plain and simple for you. If you're working on a Hoshizaki ice machine, anything from a 900 pounder up, okay, minimum 4 to 6 hours, sometimes longer, to properly clean one single machine. Okay, that is a complete teardown. That is soaking the parts, disassembling, deliming, putting it back together, running cleaner again, sanitizing, dumping all the ice, going through that whole process. 4 to 6 hours, sometimes longer per machine. Okay, Manitowoc ice machines, usually 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours, okay, per machine, depending on which one. The simplest, I used to do hospital refrigeration. The simplest, I just saw Justin Richmond. Thank you very much for that super chat, bud. That was really nice of you. I really, really appreciate that, and I'll answer your question in just a minute, okay? So with the Follett ice machines, I used to do hospitals ice machines, right? We used to service these tiny little, 400-pound ice machines, itty-bitty countertop things. Those things took 3 to 4 hours to clean. They're the tiniest little ice machines, but they took forever to clean because you weren't just simply following the instruction manual and pouring cleaner in there. You're pouring cleaner in there, running it cycle, then you're tearing it apart, then you're soaking all the parts, then you're going through everything, okay? So to do complete teardowns on whatever brand ice machine, you need to understand something. It's going to take a long time, okay? And also, if you're working on Hoshizaki ice machines, you're going to cut your hands. It's just plain and simple, okay? Do your best, wear some gloves and different things. Adam, thank you very much for that super chat, bud. You didn't need to do that. Of course, I'm going to plug the Overtime Show. Definitely come to the HVAC Overtime Show on Friday. Myself, Adam, Joe, and Bill all do a show where we just hang out and talk about everything. Make sure you post the link to the Overtime Show in the chat, guys. So, yeah, just make sure that you guys understand the ice machines take a lot longer to clean than what the manufacturers tell you, okay? Make sure your quotes reflect that, too, so that way you can properly clean the machines, especially nowadays, guys, with all this craziness going on. In my area, I don't know about in your areas, but in my area, health inspectors, they don't open ice machines. They don't touch ice machines. They look at the ice machine from in the bin area. They just open up the bin door and they look up in there. That's the only bit in my area that health inspectors do, okay? One of these days, that's going to change, and health inspectors are going to start in my area opening up the machines and looking inside, and they're going to lose their minds, okay? So then there's going to be a lot of crap going on. There's going to be a lot more cleaning going on. And then with all this, everybody's concerned about health and all that stuff, it's going to get so important too, okay? So my goodness, guys, I see super chats coming through like crazy. Philip, you're amazing. Thank you very much for that super chat. That I'm so thankful for that, bud. Thank you very much, Philip, okay? All right, Justin in Richmond. Am I completely against aftermarket condenser fan motors? So I've said that many times before. No, I'm not completely against aftermarket condenser fan motors. I will use them in certain situations, but what I'm a business owner, okay? And if I put the power in my employees' hands to try to figure out how to make things work that don't belong in something, there's a very small chance that something might go wrong. And that very small chance worries me. So to make it easier for my employees to service equipment and to make sure that they do it right and don't have mistakes, I prefer that they use factory OEM components whenever possible. But there is times that we use aftermarket. So I'm going to put something in your hands. You're working on a Train package unit, a Voyager, Train Voyager, and you have a bad condenser fan motor. Have you guys ever bought a Train condenser fan motor for a 460 volt system? They're stupid expensive. Let's just say a 208 volt system. They're stupid expensive because they're OEM motors. But did you know that there's actually something about the body of that motor that makes it OEM? And if you don't use that, you're actually causing more problems. On the motor itself, there's little dimples that stick out that hang on the motor brackets. And if you don't get a factory OEM motor, and you try to put in an aftermarket motor, if you do not get it tight enough, then what's going to happen is the motor's going to slip down over time and you're going to have damage happen to the unit, okay? Just from the vibration. So with Train, it's really important. Another thing that manufacturers do, and this is my personal opinion, is they change the ratings on the motor. So if you look at a Carrier package unit, the condenser fan motor is going to say 1100 RPMs. If you look at and it's going to say, quarter horsepower at 3.5 amps, 1100 RPMs. Okay. Well, if you get an aftermarket motor and you compare the specs, a 3.5 amp motor is going to be a half horsepower motor. Okay. But the Carrier one says quarter horsepower. So again, you're having to use brain power. So if you do have to use aftermarket motors, I throw the horsepower out the door. I pay attention to the current draw, the shaft size, the body size, and the RPMs. And the horsepower is kind of out the window because the manufacturers do weird crap to make it, in my opinion, harder for people to use aftermarket motors, okay? Then there's the other thing of, the aftermarket motors having 4-wire systems, which you can certainly use a 4-wire motor, but your capacitor, a lot of people tend to mount the capacitor in the wrong place. And, I prefer to use OEM parts whenever possible, but I realize that there's times that you have to use aftermarket too, okay? But you have to use brain power when it comes to aftermarket. You can't just trust what's on a box or what a supply house says or anything like that, okay? So that's my 2 cents on that one. Again, guys, thank you so very much for those super chats. Those are awesome. I really, really appreciate it. Let's see. What else do we have going on in here? Hello to everybody in here. It's really awesome. I'm going to say it again for the people that just came in here right now. So I got this little package in the mail today from my buddy, Curious HVAC guy, Bill. He told me he was sending me a package. I didn't know what it was. And he sent me these cups, one for myself and one for my wife. My wife says pink and it says Jill. And mine is black and it says Chris and it has a pineapple on it. So I had a good laugh out of that, Bill. Thank you very much, man. That you didn't have to do that, but that made me laugh pretty good. And this is tea, so don't get any ideas. All right, let me see what else we got going on in this chat. Advanced Basher, thank you so very much for ordering a shirt, bud. That was really awesome. So for those that are interested, I do have merch available. It's a way that you could help to support the channel. You can go to my website, hvacrvideos.com. I have zip-up hoodies. I'm wearing one right now. I have shirts, hats, beanies, a couple different shirt designs. I have women's shirts designs. So if you guys are interested, definitely go check out the website. It really does help to support the channel. So thank you guys very much. All right. Yeah. If you guys have questions, type them in caps because sometimes these things go bad. So I can't, keep up with what's going on. Who's on call? I'm on call. So I'm on call tonight for sure. All right. Yeah, definitely smash the like button, guys. I'd really, really appreciate it. We have 300 people in here, 94 likes. So please get that number up to match the amount of people. That would greatly help out the channel. Okay. No, it is not a Long Island iced tea. It is actually chamomile tea. I really like having hot tea at the end of the night. Long Island iced tea, man. I don't think I've ever had a Long Island iced tea. I don't think I ever have. So, all right. Get to my list of things to talk about. So I already covered that one. I'm going to mark that off my list. Keith had said something in the comments, and he made a really good point. You know, guys, I am not very good at following safety practices. I make mistakes all the time. I'm not the perfect technician. I'm human, okay? And he brought up the point and asked, why do I not wear gloves when I am brazing? And on the other fact, someone had asked me, why was I not wearing glasses when I was brazing either? Both good points, okay? The gloves with brazing is a personal choice of mine. And I realize that as a person that has, people watching my videos and stuff, I really do I have an obligation to set an example, but at the same time, I have to be practical too. I have yet to find a set of welding gloves that I can actually feel what I'm doing and work on what I'm doing. So my personal choice, I don't wear gloves when I'm brazing, okay? Of course, I don't want to wear flammable gloves because, no, you don't want to burn your hand off, okay? I've done it by mistake. People call me out on all the time where I'll be wearing rubber gloves and brazing, and they'll just, they can melt to my hands. But I'm not the perfect person out there, okay? As far as glasses, yeah, I really do need to wear safety glasses. Technically, when you're brazing, you're supposed to wear welding glasses that have a tint to them so that way it protects your eyeballs and stuff. I definitely don't do that. But I do try to wear safety glasses that at least protect my eyes from popping and spattering because I have had that happen before. One time I was brazing a piece of copper and it was like a valve and I set it down on the ground on the concrete and I was hitting it real quick and I was going to sweat it on the concrete because it was more convenient. And what I did was I heated up the concrete. And if you don't know, when you're heating up concrete, it'll pop and explode. And it popped and exploded. And I heard it and I closed my eye and it hit me right in the eye. And it actually scarred my eyelid. My eyelid was scarred. It hurt really bad. But had I not closed my eye fast enough, that would have been in my eyeball. So I try to wear safety glasses, but I do forget sometimes too. So, again, I'm human. I try, but I can't always be perfect. So. What do I have to say to new reefer guys? New refi guys have been residential. What do I have to say to new refi? I don't know what you mean by that, Miguel. Do you mean new refrigeration guys? I don't know what you mean by that, but give me some clarification. Make sure you put it in caps lock so I can get to it. If one of the moderators sees Miguel Vasquez respond, please make sure I see the question. Or the thing. Have I tried out that 18-volt Makita vacuum pump yet? Is it worth it? No, I haven't tried out the 18-volt Makita vacuum pump. I happen to have the small Navac vacuum pump, and it's more of a novelty to me than something that I would actually use out in the field. I use it to evacuate cylinders. I used it to evacuate a system that was known to have leaks in it just to get it, as low as I could one time. I haven't tried the bigger Navac vacuum pump. No, I'd be interested in trying the Makita one, but I don't know that I'm going to go buy the tool. So we'll see. Let's see what else. What do we got? Are ECM motors better than permanent capacitor motors? Yes and no. I mean, that's a really difficult question to answer. There's not any motor that's going to take very much abuse, okay? One of the most common things that we have, especially in residential systems, is poorly designed ductwork, okay? Poorly designed ductwork, an ECM motor can actually cause more problems with a poorly designed ductwork than a non-ECM motor, in my opinion, okay? Especially the X13 motors, my understanding is that you can have some more problems. So properly sized ductwork and installed ductwork is the most important thing. And then, you can figure out your motor after that. But don't put an ECM motor on there expecting it to solve your ductwork problems because that's not the case. Of course, an ECM motor has more electronics than a PSC motor. So, those are things to to be considerate about. But all right, have I ever thought about venturing into HVAC-D world with indoor circulation? I don't know what you mean by D, but with indoor cold. Desert air, Stoltz. Oh, okay, I know what you mean. Yeah, like the pot farms and stuff like that. Yeah, here's the thing. I'm interested in getting into all kinds of stuff, guys. I've always wanted to work on supermarkets. It sounds and seems awesome. But as a business owner, I have to be practical and know the limitations of my employees. With, the it's hard for me to train everybody while I'm learning too. That's a difficult thing. So it's one of those things that's hard for me to get involved in. It sounds very interesting to me. You would have to hire people that already have that kind of heavy commercial experience. We don't have that right now. So I definitely would be interested in getting into that. That's definitely a new up and coming field, sector of the HVAC industry for sure. So let me see. Do I often get false alarms on my DTEC Select refrigerant leak detector? I wouldn't say that I get that many false alarms. I actually upgraded from the DTEC Select. I've shown it in a couple different videos. I now have the Inficon DTEC Stratus. That name is way too long, by the way. I'm just going to call it the Stratus. But I now have the Stratus leak detector, and it's cool. It's great so far. I've only used it maybe 4 times. It's worked every single time. I've done some experimenting with my DTEC Select and the Stratus and some up-and-coming leak detectors that I can't mention, and the Stratus kicked butt, and the up-and-coming leak detector kicked butt. So stay tuned on that. All right, what is the proper charge for a small ice machine? You were given one, but it needs charge. Every ice machine is going to have a different number. If you send me the model and serial number of the ice machine, I'm sure I can get you some information that might help you a little bit more, some documentation, but I would need to know the manufacturer, the model number, and the serial number to be able to get you the correct charge for that unit. Let me see what else. What about CO2 systems? Never worked on one. I've never worked on CO2 systems either. I've heard and read a lot about them. Very interesting. But yeah, I personally don't have any experience with those. So let me see what else. Do I often... Okay, I already answered that one. How often do I run into older R22 systems in the current day? Scott Savage. I work on R22 systems. Whenever I do work on air conditioning, majority of the time they're R22. I still have at least 100, if not more, R22 package units out there. They're still very popular. Customers, especially with these big chain accounts and stuff, it's very difficult to change equipment here in Southern California legally as far as pulling permits and all that good stuff. So a lot of times customers opt to repair their equipment versus replace their equipment. So I still have a lot of R22 out there. Every one of my trucks carries R22. During the summertime, each one of my guys probably goes through 3 to 4 drums a month of R22. We still use it a lot. Okay. Let's put it this way. I have more R22 units out there than I have 410. That tells you a lot. Let me see what else we got in here. Have I used the PPM feature on my DTEC Stratus? No, John Deere fan. I have not used the PPM feature, but something that I did learn. So on the DTEC Stratus, that's boring. On the Stratus leak detector, there's a couple different modes, okay? And it'll give you a parts per million readout, but the parts per million readout is actually not as sensitive, because if you think about it this way, the whole point of the parts per million readout, it gives you a numerical parts per million value, is to be able to go into a heavily saturated environment that has a lot of leaking refrigerant and be able to pinpoint the leak, whereas a normal leak detector would be going crazy, high, low, it'd just be going nuts. Well, the parts per million increases as you get closer to the leak. My next question about the whole parts per million readout is, who really wants to go into a leaking system, a walk-in cooler or something that's that clouded with refrigerant, to walk in with your leak detector? Because I don't have a respirator. But that's a whole nother question to have. But so I have played with the parts per million, but I have not had a need for it. I just use the high sensitivity thing, and it does really well. So one critique I will give the Stratus, actually really big critique, is the audible sound on it is not nearly loud enough. Okay, the DTEC Select makes a loud beep, beep, beep sound, right? The Stratus is very quiet, and it's hard to hear, actually. If you're in a busy kitchen, you find yourself needing to look at the leak detector, which I will say is a little bit frustrating, because I want to hear the sound. Now, granted, they tell you can plug headphones into it, but that's kind of frustrating. I just want to be able to work in a kitchen and hear the leak, and the little speaker on it is way too low. It's just not loud enough at all. Oh, okay. Got it, Miguel. I see your question now. So you're saying, any tips to new refrigeration guys coming out of residential? Yeah, definitely. There's a book that I want you to order right now, okay? The book is called Commercial Refrigeration for Air Conditioning Technicians. It's by a guy named Dick Wers. You're driving right now, so don't write this down. Send me an email, hvacrvideos@gmail.com. You can look in the show notes of any one of my videos. You don't got to write that down either, okay? Just look in the show notes or the you know, comment or just above the comments on any one of my videos, and my email's in there. Send me an email and I can tell you the book there too. But it's called Commercial Refrigeration for Air Conditioning Technicians by Dick Wurz. It's a great book. It really goes over the fundamentals, the differences between air conditioning and refrigeration, the control strategies, the extra components, receivers, bypass valves, check valves, all that different stuff. So definitely a good book to start with. Okay. I would highly suggest anybody that is getting into refrigeration get that book. So let me mark that point off my list here real quick. This is a question that I had just before the stream started. Was someone asked me what my education level was as far as how high in college, what was my major, all that different stuff. So I am a knuckle busting mechanic. Out of high school, I went to work for my dad. I actually grew up working for my dad, but obviously went through high school, worked a couple fast food jobs, worked at an auto body shop working on cars. And then right out of high school, I came to work officially for my dad full time. One of the requirements that my dad had for me was that I needed to go to trade school. So I went to my local community college, Mount San Antonio Community College in Walnut, California. Went through the HVAC program. I'm actually 2 classes shy of a certificate. I never got a degree or anything like that. College just wasn't for me as far as the higher education classes. But as far as the trade classes, I still need to take a technical math class and a welding class. You guys can probably see it in my brazing that you guys see in my videos. I can use some training on that. But and I can get a certificate. But as far as college, don't have anything higher than that. I tried going to a few college classes, but I just didn't have the attention span. I think I got a learning disability as far as like ADD or something like that, because I have a hard time paying attention if I'm bored. I just lose interest. But yeah, that's the education I have. So high school, that's pretty much it. And then some trade classes at a local college. And then I've just been doing this ever since. My dad and I run the company together. He doesn't work anymore. He wishes he could retire yesterday, but I won't let him right now because I need him. I can't do it on my own. So, all right, let me see what else we got in here. What am I missing? What's my preferred R22 replacement? You use 421A. Justin Richmond, I'm going to be honest with you, dude. I use R22. I don't use a replacement. I've had some horror stories with certain replacements. 427A, I have some really bad horror stories. And I'm going to say this. If you're going to use any refrigerant replacement, okay, first off, you need to understand there is not a refrigerant replacement out there that is meant to be mixed with R22. It's not right. Don't do it. Don't mix any one of them in with R22. I don't care if someone tells you that it works. I don't care if the supply house tells you that it works, because they're lying and you're not supposed to do that, okay? But that's a whole nother topic to have. You need to read the manufacturer's installation instructions. Almost every refrigerant manufacturer out there that makes an alternative for R22, every one of their instructions has some wording in it that either says works best with, preferred method, or whatever is polyester oil. Okay, none of them are meant to work with mineral oil. Now they try to add different additives. They add hydrocarbons and different things to them to try to make them work better and move the oil in the system better with that particular refrigerant. But the bottom line is all the replacement refrigerants out there, to work properly and work best, you should change the oil to polyester oil. Okay. With that being said, it's kind of difficult in a scroll compressor to change the oil. I think I have a video maybe a month or two ago, where I was changing the oil in a compressor and I dropped the damn thing on its head, trying to flip it over. I had to unsweat the compressor, which seems so stupid. Unsweat it, take it out, pour the oil out, pour new oil in, try to dry the oil out of the fitting so you can braze it back. It's just a pain in the butt, okay? So my personal preference right now is that I use R22. Now, there's going to come a day when I'm going to have to use an alternative refrigerant. With that being said, more than likely, I'm probably going to push for 407C. My reading says that that's got the best, efficiency and all that stuff, but it's also been a while since I've done a lot of reading about it. I do have my buddy in here, Ralph. I don't know if he's in here today, but I will give you guys his email right now, because Ralph is a wealth of information for alternative refrigerants. Ralph actually works for Honeywell Refrigerants, and he's always willing to answer everybody's questions when it comes to alternative refrigerants. So I'm going to put Ralph's email in the chat right now, and you guys can, here we go. Feel free to send Ralph an email if you have any refrigerant-related questions when it comes to changing refrigerants over, converting, all that different stuff. Ralph is a super cool dude. Again, he works for Honeywell Refrigerants. Definitely give him an email and talk to him a little bit more about it. Hey, Clive. How you doing? Big Clive is in here, guys. New refrigerants weren't chosen in the first place. Yep, that is true. There is a reason why they weren't chosen in the first place. So I prefer what came in the system. Okay. Now, again, there's going to come a day when I have to convert or something. And of course, I'll lean on my buddy Ralph and we'll find a good solution for it. But always read the installation instructions. Okay. You're going to have to change system components. You're going to have to do this. You're going to have to do that. Okay. They're all different refrigerants. Let me see. Let me see what else I'm missing in this chat right now. Yeah, so Supply House there says you can mix 427A, but it just convert to 407C if we need to. Do not mix 427A. See, that's the thing. If you lean on the manufacturer of that refrigerant, they do not say it's okay to mix. See, that Supply House counter guy, that's my frustration. And I'm going to go down this path right now. Okay, supply houses, they are not, for the most part, service technicians. Okay, what it is, in my opinion, supply houses hear from the service techs walking in saying, yeah, I mixed that stuff, it works fine. And they hear it from enough service techs that they think that that works, so that they share that bit of crap with people out in the field that have questions. It's wrong. You do not mix refrigerants, period. Okay. I realize there's probably people in here that say they've done it, and I realize it probably works half-ass, whatever. Okay. But the problem is the guy that comes behind you that has to work on that system, he doesn't know what the hell's in that system. And it just makes it a nightmare. You're not a technical, you're not a chemist, you're not an engineer. Don't try to field modify the system and make your own refrigerants, because it just makes it harder for the next guy. So what happens if you do make a refrigerant, okay? And then what happens if you make some weird blend, right? It's got all these different gases in it now, because it's got a mixture of R22, a mixture of 407, a mixture of 427, whatever, okay? So what happens if half that charge leaks out? What's left in the system? How's it going to operate? You and I don't know that, okay? So that becomes a problem. Refrigerants are manufactured to operate under certain conditions, okay? You know that a lot of people talk about glide and all this different stuff, right? And yeah, it's confusing as hell. A lot of people talk about fractionation. That's confusing as hell. Okay, 410A. In the very beginning, they preach that, oh my gosh, if any of this leaks out, it's going to fractionate. That's baloney, okay? Fractionization is so minimal on 410A that you don't need to do that. But we know that because the manufacturers have told us that, you know, it's not really a concern so much, okay? So the manufacturers have done the research on that. When it comes to making your own refrigerants by mixing whatever, you don't know what you're dealing with. And neither does the person after you or the person after that. What happens if you come in and put 427A in there, and then the next guy puts 407C in there, and then some other guy puts 421D in there? What do you got? You got a freaking Molotov cocktail there. Who knows what's going to do, you know? It's just a nightmare. And I'm not trying to get down on any one person, but that just frustrates me, because I've had to troubleshoot systems that I was 99.9% sure someone had mixed the refrigerants because it just didn't operate right, right? And it wasn't labeled any refrigerant but the manufacturer's OEM R22. But guess what? All that I had to do was take all the refrigerant out, vacuum the system down, and put R22 in there, and it worked perfect. All specs are good. So it confirmed my diagnosis. Some asshat had mixed the refrigerants in that system and made it difficult, made my job harder, okay? Made me have to charge the customer more money. It's a pain in the butt. So don't mix refrigerants, bottom line, okay? It's just going to make a headache for the next guy. And I don't mean to feel like I'm talking direct to anybody in this chat, but it's frustrating. So don't mix them, okay? Do I work on RBI boilers? No, I do not work on boilers. I'm sorry. I'm not that cool. Let me see what else we got in here. Is Dallas in here? Ralph? I see people saying Dallas. I don't know if he is, but oh, cool if he is. Let me see what else. What am I? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go to my list of things to talk about. I already answered that question. And let's go to this real quick. I already answered that one. Pat had asked me, do I own my own company? I kind of already covered that. My dad and I run the company together. How long have we been in business? So my dad started the company in the late 80s, like 89 or something like that. We've been in business since. I came to work for him full-time in 2002. And, we're running it together now. And like I said, he's about to retire. So, yeah, thank you very much, Clive. That's a good idea. Top him up with acetylene. That's a really good idea. You never know how that one's going to work out. But that was actually a thing, Clive. So we had a thing here in the U.S. before before R290 was approved and used as a mainstream refrigerant, R290 is refrigerant grade propane, we had some manufacturers out there that were making R22 substitutes, and it was very shady marketing. They weren't really labeling the packages right, and essentially it was just propane, and they were sending propane out there without telling people, and they were putting it in systems that they didn't know, because propane and R22 actually have very similar characteristics. They operate almost identical. So they were using propane to top off the charge of R22 systems. Now, in a perfect world, that wouldn't be a problem, but without someone knowing that they had propane, it's a problem. When you're putting in these hydrocarbon refrigerants into systems, and I know you were just joking, Clive, but I'm just saying in general, if you're putting these hydrocarbon refrigerants into systems, you have to understand something. With a hydrocarbon, propane or butane, R600, R290, you can't use recovery machines. You even have to be careful about the vacuum pumps that you use and stuff too. So if you use the wrong components, you could have a source of ignition and things go bad. And that's actually that company that was selling R2 or propane and as an R22, I think it was called Frosty Cool or something like that. I don't know what it was called, but it was some weird brand. But yeah, they got in big trouble for that. So all right. How satisfying was ripping a bill in front of a customer? John Deere fan. Well, yeah, it was more the satisfying part. I had told a story a long time ago about I was working at a bar and someone refused to pay my invoice, and the lady was just being a royal something I'm not going to say. And but you know what I'm talking about. And she this is the wrong show for that. Ask me on the overtime show and I'll really give you my opinion. But she was being just, you know, really difficult, and I knew that we weren't going to get paid, and she was really belittling me as I was standing behind the bar in front of all of her customers, and I remember looking at her, ripping up the bill and telling her to go F off and lose my number, and that felt really satisfying. So ripping the bill wasn't even that much. It was just the F off and lose my number or something, don't ever call me again. That was the most satisfying in front of her customers. So all right, let me see what else we got in here. What am I missing? It's a Scotsman Ice Maker, and the model number is that all I need? No, you need to send me the information in my email, hvacrvideos@gmail.com. I'd have to do some looking up, but I need the model number and the serial number to get that information for you. If I was to upgrade my personal system at home, what brand of equipment? Richard Burton. In a perfect world, I'm curious about a Carrier Infinity system. That'd be something I'd consider installing. I've kind of gone back and forth because I'm about ready to change the system in my house. I thought about doing like a video series too of like an idiot refrigeration guy trying to figure out ductwork and all that stuff and showing the challenges that I go through of changing my system out and doing load calculations and blower door tests and all that stuff. I might do that, but I would love to get my hands on a Carrier Infinity system. I might just go with like a fancy ream system too, or root or whatever. I don't know though. I mean, I've also thought about the only problem I have with like Carrier Infinity and like communicating systems is a lot of times you have proprietary controls, and I'd love to have my own control and my own data logging and stuff. So I've thought about doing like Frankenstein systems too, where I do all kinds of cool stuff. And I've always wanted to put like a legit economizer in my house because we have super mild weather where there's times that I have to turn on my air conditioner when I should just open my windows, but it's a pain to open my windows, you know, that kind of stuff. So and also I like about fresh air. I feel that fresh air is going to clean my house better than circulating the inside nasty air. So I've wanted to put like a legit economizer with bypass ducts and different things in my house too. So I got all kinds of ideas. I have a single story house with a huge attic, so I could totally do it. Let me see what else. What else we got in here right now? We have a chiller we service that uses R11. Yeah, R11's an older one too. Yeah. What else can a compressor trip? What else can make a compressor trip on oil pressure? You have 404 walk-in freezer with semi-hermetic that trips already. Check low pressure control settings, suction line, oil level, superheat, tripping every few days. That's an interesting one, Tate Hall. Yeah, I don't know, man. Is it a semi-hermetic compressor that has an actual oil pump in there? Is there a screen getting dirty that's not showing the proper differential across the oil pump? That's an interesting one. Some more context for sure. Probably send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com. You can try to answer it in the chat, but it'll be kind of hard for me to see it again. Unless I know someone or are a Carrier dealer, you can't buy the Infinity system. Yeah, Docs, HVAC, I realize that, but I've kind of thought about contacting Carrier and telling them what's up. So I'm sure I can get a hold of someone that's Infinity dealer too, by the way. I'm sure I can reach out to a few different people, but I've kind of wanted to try to work with Carrier. Like, hey, let's work something out. We'll make a video series, that kind of thing. Whole House fan, look at Quiet Cool. Not my father's Whole House fan. Love mine. Yeah, I've looked at the Quiet Cools, but I'm not a fan of them. I want something that's integrated into my system. I mean, in a perfect world, I want to have an enthalpy control, basically like a legit economizer. I want to have an enthalpy control, so when my thermostat gets a call for cooling, it goes through the logic and decides whether or not using the outdoor enthalpy to use outside air, and then open the outside air and bring air in that way. The one thing I have an issue with, and I've thought this through in my head in my random crap when I'm trying to sleep at nighttime, is that we have skunks in my area. And sometimes, man, you don't want to be pulling outside air when a skunk sprayed. So that's one thing that's kind of on the downside. So if I did do a system, I want to have an emergency switch, like in the furnace cabinet or something like that I can go flip it real quick and it would close the emergency dampers. Do I need a restricted electrical license to work in HVAC in the USA? No, you do not. So, I mean, every state is going to be different. In California, it's super laxed. My contractor's license allows me to do electrical repairs up to my equipment, so I can run disconnect switches and stuff like that. Technically, I'm not supposed to replace breakers in an electrical panel, but that's kind of a gray area because it could be considered a disconnect. But I personally don't like to get into breaker panels as much as possible. So no, you do not have to have an electrical license in California. Now, there's other states in the United States that have their own regional rules that say you have to have an electrician. Like, you go up to, my understanding, like Seattle, Washington area, I don't think you're really allowed to touch much electrical. I believe electricians have to do it. Different areas, that the heavier union present states have a lot more rules where the electricians have to do their own work. But that's a whole nother conversation to have. Get an energy recovery ventilator, Alaska. Yeah, that's a possibility in ERV. That'd be a good thing. You're thinking about going to college to take AC classes next year. Is it a good job to be in? Please help, Austin Suarez. Yes, definitely, bud. HVAC is an awesome career. I love it, but I'm a knuckle buster, okay? I like to get my hands dirty. I like to work on things. I love solving puzzles. I love troubleshooting. That's my thing, okay? So I like troubleshooting things. My least favorite part about HVAC is running a business, to be honest with you. My favorite part is just going out and doing service calls and solving people's problems. That's my absolute favorite thing. But get in this trade for sure. Look up a local community college. Find a trade school at a local community college. Take 1 or 2 classes. See if it's something you're interested in. Try to find an apprenticeship. You can get involved in a private college, but oftentimes with the private colleges, you have to pay, my understanding is you have to pay a lot of money up front. The cool thing about a community college is that you can go for 2 semesters and say, this sucks, and you're only out $2,000 or something. You know what I mean? It's not that much. So Dallas, thank you so very much for that super chat, man. Hot Pockets are the most perfect food. Keep it up. Hot Pockets are good food, man. The little pizza Hot Pocket is my jam, dude. That or the ham and cheese Hot Pocket. Holy moly. When you get older, that's not good for you. And yes, for the new guys that just came in here, I do have a nice new fancy pineapple cup. Thanks to Bill, Curious HVAC guy. Sent me and my wife some pineapple cups. The lifestyle chose us. We didn't choose it. All right. Best way to learn is apprenticeship. Definitely. Clive, Big Clive, definitely. Best way to learn is apprenticeship. I would love to be able to put an apprentice through 2 years of training before he goes to work. In my company, typically, depending on their skill level, it's going to be 6 months to a year of kind of a probationary period where for the first at least 6 months, they're going to ride with me. Well, not really ride with me anymore because of COVID, but they're going to work with me. And then, after the 6-month period, I might start slowly letting them dip their toes and doing remedial tasks, getting comfortable. At the year mark, they're going to do a few more tasks, and then they're going to be kind of in a probationary period from there where we let them do a little bit more, just letting the leash out a little bit more until they feel comfortable and confident working on everything. So yes, a proper apprenticeship for sure is the way to go. COVID kind of puts a hamper on that, but we're going to get through it. All right. The question is she using the mug? She told me she was going to be making tea with it in a few minutes. So yeah. She definitely is. Put questions in caps locks for sure, guys. Pour some sangria in my good. Supposedly, when Bill sent me these on the receipt, these are like wine glasses or something, but I'm not a wine person, so it's got hot tea, chamomile tea in it right now. If you guys, like, for me, I'm getting old, right? So I'm 37. I call that old. But hot tea at the end of the night, man, chamomile tea calms me down, and I have to drink chamomile tea before I go to bed every single night now. So, do I listen to Kiss and know any members? They are your favorite band. No, I do not know any members of Kiss. Gene Simmons, if you're watching, you can loan me some money. Actually, you can give me some money. I'd really appreciate it. But no, I do not know any of the members of Kiss. Kiss is okay, but not my favorite band. But I mean, you know, I like some of their stuff. I appreciate them for sure. You started out in '99 at $9 an hour. Best decision you made was getting into HVAC. Jason Johnson, awesome, bud. I can remember working for my dad before I came to work for him full time. When I used to work summers, I would work on restaurants, changing filters, doing preventative maintenance on the roof, like cleaning off air conditioners and stuff. I can remember I was getting paid salary, $25 a day. I think there was some child labor laws broken there, but $25 a day as a 15-year-old during the summer, that was golden, because the end of the summer, you had a couple $100 and you're like, yes, score. Tate Hall, thank you so very much for that super chat, man. You guys with these super chats, I'm so very thankful. You guys humble me with this stuff. The fact that you guys even come and watch me talk is blowing my mind. If you guys could please do me a favor, smash the like button, get the like count up. Do me a favor, get the like count up to 250. If you guys get the like count up to 250, I'll do a giveaway on the show right now. So smash the like button, get it up to 250 or higher, and I'll do a giveaway on here. Open as long as I can legally send it to you anywhere in the world. I'll do a random giveaway for someone in the chat. If you get it up to 250, I'll tell you guys when, and I'll give away a merch item. All right, let's see what else we got. Tea with, yeah. All right. So Ray had made a comment in the YouTube chat about ice machine cleaners, okay? And I kind of want to cover that. So when you're using ice machine cleaners, there's a lot of science that goes into the cleaners that you use, okay? If at all possible, you want to use the cleaners that the manufacturer recommends that you use, okay? The manufacturers out there have certain types of cleaners that are approved for their ice machines, okay? So different ice machine manufacturers have different methods of making the evaporators. Hoshizaki ice machines use stainless steel evaporators. So we can use heavy duty phosphoric acid cleaners, okay? But on Manitowoc ice machines, they have nickel plated evaporators, okay? So they have a copper evaporator that's covered in nickel, and you have to use special cleaners, or you can actually break away the nickel and wear it down. So you can't use a phosphoric acid based cleaner on a nickel plated evaporator, okay? You guys are almost there. You're going to hit it right now. You're at 243 likes is what I see right now. So keep smashing it. We'll get it up there. Nice. You guys are coming through clutch right now. Appreciate it. Okay. Let's see where we're at right now. Bam, 244. Keep it going. So you want to make sure that you're using the proper cleaners, and you also want to make sure not to mix the cleaners with other products, okay? Mixing phosphoric acid and bleach is a big no-no. You can cause chemical gases that could kill people. In fact, it just happened at a restaurant chain like a year or two ago. Someone had accidentally mixed an acid and bleach, and that was not good. Some bad things happened. There we go. We just hit 250 likes. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead. Let me pull up my software real quick. And we're just going to do a random person in the chat here in just a minute. Go ahead and wait, don't chat yet because I haven't turned the software on yet. So let me look it up. What's it called? Oh, there it is. There it goes. Let me pull it up real quick and log in. Boom. There we go. Let's do that. Okay. So what we will do, and let me make sure that, okay, cool. It's working. So we'll go ahead and do a giveaway right now. So we're going to do it for a merch item. Whoever wins gets to choose what merch item they want to win. Start chatting right now. Okay. I'm going to do it for just a minute here. In my head, I'll tell you guys when to stop chatting. So start chatting away. And the person's name that wins, if I can legally send you the merch item anywhere in the world, if your country allows me to, I will do so, okay? If I can't legally send it to you, then we're just going to have to figure something else out, okay? So keep chatting right now. I'll pick a random person, and it'll be the merch item of your choosing. So it can either be an HVACR Videos hat, a Big Picture Diagnosis t-shirt, a flag t-shirt, a beanie, a cuffed beanie, a non-cuffed beanie, or an HVACR Videos sweatshirt, zip-up hoodie, okay? So I will definitely give you whatever item you pick of my merch. I will definitely send it out to you. We're going to pick one winner tonight and one winner only. I'm going to go ahead and get ready. Keep chatting. Knock it out right now. Keep chatting. And everybody that's chatted in the last 5 minutes is eligible to win. Currently, we have 102 eligible. Keep going. Keep going. Keep chatting right now. All you got to do is chat anything in the chat. I'm going to give it another couple seconds to let a few more people get entered right now. So when it comes to the ice machine cleaners, you guys want to make sure that you're very careful about the ice machine cleaners, okay? All right, thank you much for that super chat. I saw a super chat sneak through. I really appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pick a winner in 3, 2, 1. Boom. Adam Wertman. Your name is in the chat right now. Adam Wertman. You are the winner. Send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com. Go ahead and stop chatting. You guys are driving me crazy. No, Adam Wertman. Send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com. And you can tell me what merch item you want. Give me your address, your phone number, what color, what size, social security number. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. But just send me an email and we'll figure it out, Adam. You can tell me what you want me to send you, okay? Adam Wertman, you are the winner. All right, chill out with the chat, guys. And congrats to Adam. And send me an email, bud, okay? hvacrvideos@gmail.com. I'm going to go ahead and get back to my questions real quick, my stuff. I saw... Gabriel Esparza, thank you very much for that super chat, man. That came through while that was going on. That was awesome, but I really, really appreciate it, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me see my phone real quick. Make sure it's not blowing up too bad. That looks good. Scotty Beam or Behem Beam. Email hvacOvertime@gmail.com. Adam has something for you. Scotty Scotty Behm. Sorry if I'm butchering your last name. Send Adam an email, hvacOvertime@gmail.com. He has something for you. Oh, let me turn that off. My phone started playing a thing, so I'm glad I looked down at my phone for a minute. All right, cool. So let me see what else we got on my list of things to talk about. Clarify. Okay, I already answered that one. Ice machines. When it comes to the ice machines, a lot of people asked me on my recent video about ice machine cleaners, the calcium buildup, and whether or not they could solve those problems with water filters. So first and foremost, I'm going to tell you that unfortunately, manufacturers sell water filters to anybody, and the water filters are not necessarily tailored to the water supply in that area. Luis Valley, thank you very much for that super chat, man. I really appreciate it. Are the ice machine seminars worth asking your boss to go to? Heck yeah, they are. Definitely. Do your regional ones, though. They're not, I don't think they're doing any of them right now, so you can probably do them all online, but for sure you want to go to ice machine seminars. If you can get to the factory training, definitely go to it. That's totally worth it. But thanks again for that super chat. That is awesome, bud. These super chats, they really help to support the channel, so thank you guys so very much. Really, really appreciate it. So, when it comes to water filters really need to be tailored to the specific water conditions. Unfortunately, a lot of times they're not. In my recent video, I had to clean up an ice machine that had a little bit of scale buildup. Yes, that ice machine actually did have water filters on it, okay? But water filters don't necessarily catch everything. And did you know, this is a little interesting fun fact, that you can actually clean the water too much. If you put like all these fancy digital water filter systems and RO systems and all this different stuff, you can actually clean the ice so much that there's no mineral content left in it, and then the ice machines actually won't work properly. On the older Manitowoc machines that used to use a ice thickness probe, that when the water bounced off the ice, it would ground out a probe and tell the machine, you know, by grounding it out. When the mineral content got so low, it actually couldn't sense properly, and it would affect the way that the ice machine works. So that's an interesting fun fact, that you can actually clean the water too much. But that was like crazy cleaning systems. That was pretty extreme. So you got to be careful about doing that. But yeah, my systems did have water filters on them. Oftentimes though, the customers don't like water filter systems because they're so expensive to change. So sometimes some of these like Hoshizaki water filters, they can be up to almost $100 each. And for a big machine, it can take a triple system. It can have 3 water filters, and you're supposed to change them every 6 months. And a lot of times the customers don't like that expense. So they'd rather pay me once or twice a year to do full teardowns on the machine and go crazy cleaning them instead of putting water filters on them. Now, I always prefer to have the customers have water filters, but you know, sometimes they just don't want to. So Went to the Hoshi training in Oxnard a few years ago. It was a good class. Yes, Jason. So, but one thing you have to be careful about, sometimes when you go to these manufacturers, the regional trainings, they're good. They're cool. The little ice machine service classes that are like for 3 hours at nighttime. But a lot of times there's a lot of salesy stuff in there. They're like doing a sales pitch. So sometimes that can get a little aggravating. If you're going to the factory service schools, those ones are definitely worth their weight in gold. I honestly have never been to the factory service school in Peachtree, Georgia for Hoshi, or Manitowoc, Wisconsin for Manitowoc. I've done some more than just I've done kind of semi-regional training. They used to do one for Manitowoc out here at Antelope Valley College where it was like a 2-day seminar. That was pretty cool, but they don't do that anymore. But just if you can only get to the free ones or the ones that are like $100 at the, local supply houses and stuff, those are definitely good to go to if you can. Twisted Candle Company, thank you very much for that super chat, bud. I really appreciate it. Oh, right on. That's good. That's good that you appreciate the ice machine cleaner stuff. So, I want to answer this one because I get this one all the time. What is a sight glass and what is the purpose of a sight glass? Understand something. An expansion valve, a system with an expansion valve, requires that you have a certain or a solid column of liquid going to the expansion valve. So a sight glass, what is it? It's simply a piece of glass that allows you to see into the copper pipe and see what the state of the refrigerant is, okay? If you have 100% liquid going to the expansion valve, you have a sight glass preferably right before the expansion valve. That's very uncommon, but preferably right before the expansion valve, you should have a clear sight glass that's full and solid, okay? So a sight glass is simply a way that it's one method that we use to analyze the refrigerant charge. Now, that's not the only method that we use, but it's one way to get you in a ballpark to know whether you have the right amount of refrigerant in a system. But you won't necessarily use a sight glass on most residential systems, okay? So you got to be careful about that. We're talking about refrigeration systems. Now, a sight glass can also be used to tell you, because they have indicators on them that tell you whether there's moisture in the system, acid in the system, different things like that. They have, it's like a little piece of litmus paper or something. Those are also beneficial too. So it's not just to tell you the refrigerant charge. It's also there to tell you the state of the refrigerant, whether it's contaminated or whatnot. Okay, so sight glasses can also be used to show oil level in receivers. They can be a very good asset. So it's just a window into the system. At that point in the system, the technician needs to analyze the information it's given you. So as time passes on, do I see brazing as a thing of the past? Using products like Zoom Lock in place of saves time, no firewatch. Richard Burton. So I recently did a video where I used the Zoom Lock Max tool, the new Zoom Lock Max fittings and tools and stuff from Sporlan. And it was my first time using it. I have to say it was relatively easy. There's a lot of prep that goes involved in it. I certainly am not a person that thinks that the Zoom Lock Max tool is going to dumb down the industry. I don't see that, okay, because there's still skill that goes into it. You still have to follow, you still have to know what you're doing to use the Zoom Lock Max tool. And it's not perfect for every situation. Do I see brazing disappearing completely? No, I don't see brazing ever disappearing completely, but I see the Zoom Lock Max tool being used more and more as the future goes, especially when it comes to things like mini splits and with firewatch situations, big industrial installations and things like that. But there's some things you got to consider with the Zoom Lock Max tool too when you're using the Zoom Lock Max fittings. Is you have to be more aware of vibrations in the lines. You have to make sure that you're properly supporting your lines, so that way the fitting's not getting stressed and different things like that. So it's definitely not taking the skill out of the industry, in my opinion. And do I see it replacing brazing completely? No, brazing will always have a place, but the Zoom Lock Max is another tool in our arsenal to use in certain situations for sure. So a sight glass is a compressor's oil leaker. Yeah, that's true. Sight glasses and the semi-hermetic compressors have been known to leak, and you have to have a special tool for it. It's definitely interesting. You can manufacture your own tool too, but it's a little more difficult. So let me see what else we got going on in here. Have I tried the filter box puller? If not, you highly recommend it. I've seen them. One of my techs bought it one time. I've never used it. I don't change as many filters as I used to. A lot of my customers have gone to filter changing companies, so they don't let us do filter changes. So Ian Orr, thank you very much for that super chat. It's a very nice comment that you made. Evan Hart, thank you very much for that super sticker. That was awesome, bud. It's really appreciated and definitely helps to support the channel. So thank you much. Have I used Sporlan's push lock fittings? Sean Schwab. No, I have not, but I have a few of them, and I have the perfect scenario that I want to use some of the push lock fittings on an R290 system. So you guys, and it's not what you think. It's a cool little idea that I have in my head on an R290 system, and I definitely want to use it. I can tell you what it is because it doesn't matter. So I think that the push lock, if you can get a 1/4-inch push lock fitting, it will work perfect in the situation when you're all done on an R290 system. You're supposed to pinch off the line and braze it shut. I think that if you have a piece of copper that's pinched off and brazed away from the system, that you can use the push lock fittings or the push to connect fittings and put it on there, and then you don't have to braze the system shut. And Sporlan actually sells a push to connect fitting that's removable. So you have a special tool and you put it on there and you can remove it after the fact. So anytime you ever needed to work on the system, you could put a little stub in there and be able to work on it. So that's my idea, to use the push to connect fitting with the Sporlan push to connect. It's Zoom Lock push to connect, Zoom Lock Max push to connect, I think is what they're calling it. But I have a few of them. I just haven't had the opportunity to use it, but I definitely will catch it on video when I do. So, yeah, but it's not, I'm not, in my personal use is not going to be to put a compressor in with it or anything like that. It's going to be used for that process stuff. That's what I want to use it for. So, all right. See you later, Cody Builds. I appreciate it, bud. Let me see. How many people look at me funny when I'm filming my videos? Bradford Reynolds. So, I genuinely don't film in front of people just to not draw any more unwanted attention, but occasionally I do. Some of my customers, you know, I'll have conversations with them about it. On the higher levels, a lot of my customers actually know that I film on corporate levels and stuff, but I still try to be discreet about it and polite about it and not to, you know, throw it in anybody's faces and stuff. So, but yeah, for the most part, I don't film in front of customers or anything like that. It just adds a variable that you don't need into your videos. So let me see what else we got. All right, I'm going to get to, I already answered that question. I'm just marking stuff off my list. I marked that one off. Oh, this is a question I get all the time, guys. Am I always at the same restaurant? No. So I work for a lot of chain restaurants, and a lot of them are similar. So the one that people see the most when I'm working on the Hvacr racks and stuff like that, that is, I have 4 or 5 restaurants that are almost identical. They all look the same on the roof. There's like slight difference, but they all have the same rack. They all have the same pan chillers and different things like that. So I'm not at the same place. I'm usually at the same chain, but not at the same place. All right. So when I did a repair on my recent video, I had to change the receiver, change an evaporator coil, all that good stuff, and the unit had a leak in the pan chiller. So I had said that the system was leaking, and I had to do my part because they were going to have their specialist come in and fix that Hvacr pan chiller after me. So with that being said, how did I pull a vacuum on that system when it had a refrigerant leak in it? Okay, this is all stuff that I brought up to the customer. I wanted the customer to have their guy come out and fix his leak in the pan chiller first and let me come in and do mine after, but they didn't want to do it that way. So the customer is king, and they made that decision. So I just pulled the best vacuum that I could. That's where the decay test comes in. So basically that system did not pass a decay test. I was able to pull it down to, I think I got like 600 microns or something, but 700 microns, but it was struggling to pull below that. Because it had a leak. And then when I went to go do the decay test, it was rising quite fast. Okay. So there was still, leaks in the system, but I just went ahead and charged the system as fast as I could and got positive pressure in there. So here in the United States, we're allowed to work on systems and leave systems with leaking refrigerant. So I know in Europe and the UK and different places like that, they have a lot of restrictions and different things, but we're actually allowed to fix systems or to keep systems leaking as long as they don't have more than like 50 pounds of gas or something like that in them. So yeah, it's just one of those things. I did my best. I couldn't pull a perfect vacuum. It did not pass the decay test. I just pulled a vacuum and put gas in it as fast as I could. So it probably still has a little bit of air in there, a little bit of moisture in there, but it is what it is. All right. Let me see. What was the most problematic ice machine? The most problematic ice machine was, I can tell you, It was a Hoshizaki ice machine that I worked on early in my career when I was maybe like a year in. I was working on a Hoshizaki ice machine by myself. And if you guys remember, Hoshizaki ice machines, they came out with a flapper style bin control. Okay. Not the push button bin control that they have now. They used to have a thermostatic. They've had that forever. It's a temperature controller. And then they came out with this little flapper thing that like had a flapper bracket that just hung down and like stood there and just wobbled in the wind basically. And I had to do a conversion to that flapper style bin control. And nowadays I can think of what I did, and I must have gone back 3 times on that ice machine because it wouldn't work right. It wouldn't work right. I was not doing a good job. I was not looking at the big picture. I was not following the installation instructions. And I can still remember that one to this day. And I literally just didn't follow the installation instructions right. And I crossed some wires. And I think my dad ended up having to go out there with me. And I remember him saying, like, what the hell did you do? You know, like I screwed it all up. And the installation instructions, I can picture them in my head. They're super easy, and you just got to follow the instructions, and it tells you exactly how to do the conversion. And I just didn't do it right. So that was probably one of the most problematic ice machines because it was just callback after callback after callback until I figured out that, oh, yeah, I made the mistake. I didn't wire it right. Let me see. We can't add gas to a unit we find. Yeah, that's very interesting, Hunter. Yeah, we're allowed to add gas to leaking systems. So let's see what else we got in here. Okay, I'm going to cross that one off my list. Let's cover this one right now. The elephant in the room. So if you guys follow me on social media, this is something interesting. This kind of made me laugh. I got a good laugh out of this. So yesterday, I looked down at my phone because we were out doing family stuff all weekend. I'll talk about that in a minute. But I looked down at my phone and there was a notification on there, and I clicked on it, and someone said something along the lines of, apparently you're super popular, so popular that people want to copy your videos. So some dude out there, he's probably super embarrassed about it. And I'm not going to call his name out, but whatever. Some dude out there watched my video that uploaded Sunday morning, and he went and screenshotted it and then posted the pictures of the screenshots on Instagram and tried to pass them off as he was working on an ice machine at a Taco Bell and he had to do an emergency repair. And it was funny because his comment, I think it said, making big dollars or writing big checks or cashing big checks or something like that because he was fixing ice machines on the weekend, changing a TXV. He literally watched my video, screenshotted my video, the Hoshizaki ice machine video where I was changing the TXVs. My hands are in the pictures. And he put it on Instagram or Facebook and put it in one of the Facebook groups saying that he was doing the repair. And then like 2 or 3 guys that literally just watched my video that morning called him on it. And then the dude went and deleted the post. And he must have been so embarrassed because, and it makes me kind of wonder, like, I'm not mad. I think it's kind of funny. I mean, of course I don't want people to rip my crap off, but it still kind of made me laugh. Like some dude watched my video and then tried to pass it off as his repair and tried to post it on Instagram or Facebook so he could get attention. I kind of feel bad for the guy in a way because, you know, maybe he felt like he needed the attention or something. And I sent him a friend request, but he didn't accept it. But if you're watching, dude, I'm not mad at you. Like it was kind of messed up, but I mean, it is what it is. And the friend request I sent you was genuine. I'd be willing to help you out if you need help with things and stuff like that, or if you just need someone to talk to, because sometimes people do that stuff for attention. But you know, I don't know. Maybe he just needed to talk to someone, you know, maybe he needs attention in that way. And I sent him a friend request and he didn't accept it. So I don't know, but it's pretty funny though. It kind of made me laugh, you know, but for real though, some dude tried to screenshot my video and pass it off his own Facebook post. So, yeah, I did ask in the group. I wonder how much the big check was for though. So, all right. So what's the process of diagnosing a TXV and replacing a TXV in an ice machine? Well, first off, you have to understand the process, the sequence of operation with that particular ice machine. You have to know how the ice machine works so that way you can diagnose the ice machine properly. In my situation, I was pretty confident in the diagnosis of a failed TXV on that Hoshizaki ice machine because I knew the sequence of operation and we were flooding back to the compressor and I knew what was supposed to happen. And you know, I stuck my hand up there, grabbed the hot gas valve, could feel that the hot gas valve wasn't leaking by, that kind of stuff. So I knew what it was and I diagnosed it. Now, when it comes to changing the TXVs, this is really important. When you're working on almost any ice machine out there, you have to understand how the ice machines work, especially if they're remote ice machines. And I kind of alluded to it in my video, but it's really important. If you have a remote ice machine, oftentimes you have to do a 3-point recovery and a 3-point vacuum. The reason why is remote ice machines have a lot of check valves. They have hot gas valves. They have places for refrigerant to get trapped. If you hook up to the suction and liquid port, you want JJ Services HVACR LLC. Dude, that super chat is amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much, bud. I'm blown away. Thank you very much. That is an awesome super chat. That is much appreciated, and it really does help. So thank you. Okay. Awesome, bud. Awesome. But understanding the sequence of operation. Okay, now in my situation, because I understood the sequence of operation, I took my Sporlan solenoid magnets and I put them on both of the solenoid valves, the hot gas valve and the liquid line solenoid valve, and I then let the refrigerant flow throughout the whole system so that way I could recover and vacuum from just the suction and the liquid port, okay? But without that, I could have had trapped gas stuck in between a check valve and whatever, okay? Manitowoc ice machines are the same. Scotsman ice machines are the same. So you have to understand the sequence of operation and make use of those solenoid magnets if you can get your hands on them, okay? Now, as far as the process of changing the TXVs, you need to talk to the manufacturer too, because on Hoshizaki, you know, and it makes sense, you're going to open up that system. It's such a pain in the butt. You need to just change both expansion valves, okay? That's good practices on those machines. And, you know, it'd probably go for Manitowoc machines too. If I had to change a TXV, I'd probably change them both, okay? So hot gas valves, same thing, so. All right. Who has a link to the Discord server? Israel. If you look in the show notes of this video, there's a link. If you can't get a link right now, send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com, because only moderators can post links, unless one of the mods has a link to the Discord channel. But you can also send me an email if you guys need a link to the Discord channel. I can get it to you through there. Oh, there you go. Discord server. Boom. Right there. Streamlabs just shared it. Hopefully that's a good link. I think it is, though. All right. Big picture diagnosis all day long. All right. Covered that one. And really quick one right at the beginning of the stream, Molly Penderson, I believe that's your name in the chat. Molly had asked, what was my favorite makeup air unit? And the next question was, what happens if a makeup air unit is putting too much air into the building? Okay. Your building is going to be out of balance. So let's look at it like this. You have a restaurant. We're talking about a restaurant. That's the easiest way to look at this. You have a restaurant that has exhaust fans that pull smoke and unwanted air out of the building, okay? That smoke and that unwanted air are expelled from the building, but here's the problem. Hold on. I'll give you an example. Just one sec. I think I have a prop for this example. At least I used to have the prop. Let's see if I still have it. Yep, got it over here. Perfect. Look at this. The simplest explanation. HVACR survival. Rick, thank you very much, bud. You didn't need to do that. Rick, that was really cool, bud. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas, man. And I am not afraid to say Merry Christmas, by the way, okay? We're not all politically correct and all that crap. Merry Christmas, guys, okay? But also happy holidays to the people that don't celebrate Christmas. But to the people that do celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas, okay? All right, so that was amazing, Rick. You did not need to do that, okay? So, paper bag. Easiest way to explain building balance. Check this out. So what happens if you take a paper bag, put it over your mouth, and you suck all the air out? The bag collapses, okay? So what happens if you take a paper bag and you blow air into it? The bag expands and it blows up, okay? So with that being said, this is your building, okay? When the building has air pulled out of it, the bag collapses or the building collapses, okay? Or not collapses, but it becomes in a negative pressure. When you put too much air into the building, the bag expands until it can't expand anymore and something's got to give. So the doors will pop open or something, okay? But if you take the same paper bag, okay, really simple, and you cut a hole in the bottom of it, really easy, like this, like this. This is so crude, but it's so easy to explain building balance this way, okay? So now you have a perfect hole in the bottom of the bag and you try to suck the air out and nothing happens to the bag. All that's happening is the air is passing through the bag, okay? So when it comes to building balance, the exhaust fans pull the air out of the building. The makeup air makes up for the exhausted air. The makeup air needs to be sized accordingly so that way it puts the right amount of air back into the building to compensate for what you pulled out, But depending on your building design, you either don't want to pull out too much air or you don't want to put too much air back in, okay? Different regions of the country are going to have different building balance requirements. Here in Southern California, we typically want to make our building slightly positive, okay? But our kitchen, we typically want to have slightly negative. So it's kind of a balance between it. So we want the air from the building to pull through into the kitchen, but not fast enough that it goes across the window where the food sits and cools the food off, okay? But at the same time, we don't want to pull outside air into the building. So we like the building to be ever so slightly positive. So that way, you know, when someone does open the door, the air just slightly goes out instead of cold, unwanted, unconditioned air comes in. Okay, so that's the easiest, simplest explanation I can give of a building balance. As far as a brand of a makeup air unit, it really depends on what you're comfortable working on. I work on green hex systems and captive air systems as far as makeup air, so I'd have to say those are my two favorite makeup air units. But I mean, it really depends on what you're comfortable with, okay? So hopefully that answers your question about makeup air and building balance, Molly, and that maybe makes it a little bit more makes sense or whatever. All right, let's see what else. So building will collapse or explode. Copy that. You got it, Steven Montanez. You see, you got it, man. You don't want your building to blow up and you don't want it to collapse in on itself. Interestingly enough, you guys can find, I don't know if they're fake or not, but you can find some videos on YouTube. Look up vacuuming down a rail car. And they're actually using, like, at least the video makes it seem like they're using an industrial grade vacuum pump and they're pulling a vacuum on the rail car and the rail car actually implodes, like collapses on itself because they pulled such a strong vacuum on it. Really interesting. Now, whether or not that's true, I don't know, but I mean, it seems logical that you could do that. So interesting. All right. Have you ever accidentally caused property damage during my career? I don't know. I'm sure I've done something along those lines. Bill, yeah, if you suck on a keyhole in the building, it will collapse. That's for sure. So as far as something's got to give, typically what happens is the doors will be, if the building's way negative, the doors will be really difficult to open. And if the building's way positive, the doors will actually blow open, which can be a problem because at the end of the night, when the manager closes and they try to lock up the building, the door could actually stay stuck open. I've had that actually happen or heard of it happening to restaurants where the alarm won't, they can't figure it out. The alarm won't set, and then come to find out the building was so positive that the doors were staying open. So very interesting. Keep kitchen in the neutral, positive, position, and you're pretty balanced. All right, cool. Okay. Molly, okay, so I already answered that question. Yeah, definitely got it knocked out. Okay, guys. So this weekend, my family and I, we finally got away, guys. It's been so long since I've got out to do, people ask me all the time, like, what my hobbies are, right? So my hobbies are camping, hiking, that kind of stuff. So this weekend, we got some real good, we didn't get to go as long as I wanted to, but we went out to Joshua Tree National Park, which is about 2.5 hours away from my house. We just drove out for the day on Saturday, woke up super early. And my wife had to beg me to leave the park. I was like a little kid in Disneyland. We left the park at like 11:30 at night. So we got there at like 10 a.m., went all day hiking, rock scrambling, climbing in caves, doing that kind of stuff, taking family pictures. And then it's so out in the remote desert that I wanted to see the stars at nighttime, and the moon wasn't up yet. So we drove out of the park at the end of it, like at dusk, and got just some food at Little Del Taco, just real crap fast food. Drove back into the park, and then stayed there all night. And I was taking pictures. We were driving around looking at the stars. My family was freezing because I think the temperatures out there in the high desert, they get pretty low. So it got down to like 29 degrees. So I'm out there and I'm all warm, but my family wasn't quite as prepared. But they're just sitting in the car and I'm just laying on the ground staring at the stars, taking pictures with my phone, doing that kind of stuff. So it was a super nice weekend. It's been a long time since I've gone out and done some real hiking. I had a blast. I want to do it more. I need to do it more. And then Sunday we went out and picked out our Christmas tree and just hung out. So it was a super relaxing, exhausting, but fulfilling weekend, I guess I should say. There's an oxymoron in there, relaxing, but exhausting, I think. I don't know if it's an oxymoron, if that's the right word, but anyways, had a blast this weekend. It was super nice to get out and do something for once. I'm always focused on videos and stuff. So I need to do it a little bit more where I actually get out and do family stuff. It's hard sometimes. Let's see what else we got going on in here. Any special giveaway for hitting 100,000 subscribers? Richard Burton. I've thought about doing something like that. I'm sure I'll definitely work something up where we do a 100K giveaway for sure. We'll definitely work something out. And I'm almost there. So What else? Basically a chain of compressor. Okay, I already answered that one. Do I advise doing stuff way outside? What do I do for a living for relaxation? That's funny that I just said for relaxation. Like that was super relaxing for me to get out and go hiking and stuff. So let's see what else we got going on in here. All right. Well, I think that it is time I wrap this up, guys. What time is it in the USA? It is 6:30 p.m. on December 7th right now in California in the United States. But the United States is rather large, so we have 3 different time zones within the United States. I think it's only 3, right? Is Hawaii on a different? Yeah, I think it's only 3 time zones. No, 4 time zones actually in the United States. I don't know. I go lost. But yeah, so we can have different time zones in the United States. But in California, which is on the West Coast, it is 6:30 p.m. on December 7th. Actually, Pearl Harbor Day, by the way, too. I'll never forget Pearl Harbor Day because it's actually my grandfather's birthday. So watched a documentary on Pearl Harbor, too, I think Friday night. Just, I've seen almost every documentary, but still such a trip. Interesting. It's just crazy, that whole thing. So. All right. Well, on a walk-in freezer you've installed, you'll put special trap doors that equalize vacuum. Oh yeah, that's we call it a vacuum breaker on a walk-in freezer. It's essentially just a little device that keeps it warm, so that way when someone opens and closes the door, it keeps the vacuum from causing the doors to shut. Think about your residential refrigerator. If you open and close the door like 2 times, then the 3rd time it's like really hard to open the door. That's because there's a vacuum created inside there. So, but anyways, I am going to wrap this up, guys. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for the super chats. That was awesome. You guys blow me away with that. You guys are amazing. Thanks so much for the support. If you guys are interested in any merch, check out my website, hvacrvideos.com. Merch available there. Again, any questions I missed or anything like that, send me an email, hvacrvideos@gmail.com. I'm going to go ahead and cue out the outro music right now, if I can figure that out. I'm going to cue this up, and the outro music's coming on. Are you guys still here again? Haven't we talked about this before, that you guys, like, you just wait? Like, it blows my mind. How come you're still here? Like, for real. Go to your home. Like, go home, right? You hit the button, like, switch to something different. There's no point in watching this anymore. You need to move on. Like, hit the X, hit the search bar and search up something else. Like, this is over. It's time to move on.